taking the time out to hear a tiny bit about some of the structural changes and how some changes we've made to the QAP and the application process. We're just going to do a quick overview of some hints, hopefully some helpful items that will make submitting an application a bit easier. We are working on a Q&A section that will be added to our website. We had hoped to have that up last week. We did not get that done. So we're reevaluating our timing a little, but we do hope to have that up by no later than the end of the next week. But if everyone could please make sure to mute your microphone if you're not speaking. I am Sarah Takota with Nebraska Investment Finance Authority. I'm the low-income housing tax credit allocation manager. We have Pam Otto, who is the assistant manager of the tax credit program at NYFA. And then we have Department of Economic Development staff here today that will talk about their portion of the application in regards to home, National Housing Trust Fund, community development, block grants, disaster recovery funds, and things like that. So we will, at some point in time, turn that over to Michelle and Christina so they can touch on some things. If you have questions throughout, please feel free to go ahead and put a question in the chat, and we will be glad to address it as we go. But otherwise, we will go ahead and get started. If I can get everything to share properly. Okay. Pam, is that sharing properly? Can everyone see that screen?
Yes.
Again, we'd really like to point out that this year, as we developed the qualified allocation plan and the application as a joint endeavor with the, specifically the application as a joint endeavor with the Nebraska Department of Economic Development, we really did focus on the mission, vision, and values of NYFA. The board has really asked us to focus on embracing these items, and you will see it every day when you go in our office. You'll notice that commitment, integrity, collaboration, innovation, and stewardship are words and values that we are trying to embody every day at NYFA. Again, we recognize that there has been a large amount of changes to the application and the QAP this year. It may be hard to find where to locate some things or understand, you know, a specific change. We do recognize that. Please continue to reach out to us, ask questions. Those will go into the FAQ document. That I will show you where that will be posted on our website when that is up, and we will send out an email letting everyone know that it is available. One of the major things that I just want to touch on right away is that I've had a lot of calls from developers saying, you know, everything is super volatile right now with numbers. We understand that you're not going to be able to trying to find a real number per se. It's going to be really hard right now. We know you can't get bids. You know, we know that you're just sort of doing your best to guess what those increases are going to be. We are really asking that when we're looking at projects, we would not expect those efficiency numbers to come in less than they did last year, because that would be unusual, or less than 2020. In 2021, we had a lot of projects come in that had lower costs than they did in lower per unit costs or lower of any of the efficiencies than they did in 2020. even though we knew at the end of 2020, when those applications were coming in, that lumber was going up. We recognize it's a gamble and it's a challenge, but please do your best to provide as accurate numbers as you can. Again, we know in this day and age, that's changes by the moment. But again, we would be surprised to see numbers lower than last year, just based on conversations that we've had with professionals, developers and other professionals in the industry. To start out with, we'd like to just show you a little bit about our NYFA website and where to locate items. One of the big things is we want to make sure that you are up to date with what is happening at NYFA. So if you go to our main NYFA page at nyfa.org and scroll down to the very bottom, there is a green, box that says, please sign me up. Or sign me up. So please click on that, enter your information, and make sure that if you want information regarding the tax credit program specifically, that you're checking developers, and then on the compliance side, property managers. So please make sure you're signing up for those notices. There are certain tax credit things that we send to everybody as part of an all NYFA correspondence, but there's littler things that we just send to those who are really interested in the tax credit program. So again, please make sure that you're going through and checking that. Another section is just, again, to make sure you understand how to navigate the new website. The great thing about the new website is there's several different ways to get to items on the website. The unfortunate thing and the confusing thing is there's several different ways to get to different sections of the website. So one of the easiest things, of course, is just to always go to developers and property managers. And then you'll see the different drop-down tabs or menus that you can take a look at. For example, there's an allocation tab, which sort of walks you through each of the major milestones of the tax credit process after you've received a conditional reservation. Then you have conditional reservation items, carryover, 10% test, costs, etc. Another one we'd like to point out, another menu, is the education and training menu. Any videos, trainings, information that needs to be shared will be out on this education and training site. And this is where we will have our FAQs added to this particular page so that you will be able to find those, and those will be updated on a regular basis. I'd also like to mention that not only is this allocation side of things, but if you scroll down, there is compliance information down here also. And I would be remiss if I didn't put in a plug for our annual compliance training, which will be held virtually March 28th through 30th. We have an amazing trainer again. Kelly Schultz and the compliance team have contracted with an amazing trainer to come in. He makes compliance really an enjoyable topic to sit and listen to. A gentleman named Gary is the trainer, and it's fantastic and a great educational opportunity to learn more about tax credits. Finally, the area that probably gets the most traffic on the website for our section is the forms and documents page. Again, we've got the allocation forms and documents, and then if you scroll down, you'll see the compliance forms and documents. Here, each of these sections break things down pretty clearly. Qualified allocation plan, our reservation lists are those projects that once they receive a conditional reservation, they're listed on there. Application lists, we just had our pre-application due date and optional threshold due date for the 4% application, and you can see these links are right here to download those PDF documents to see what those are, and then again a bunch of other information that is useful. Let's see, let's hop into the actual QAP document. Again, you can find it under this QAP section. We have the large QAP document, a link to the online application, the score sheet, so you can self-score. If you'd like to self-score your application, you certainly can. And then you'll also notice we have the 4% information in here also, and then the rent and income limits. And then any forms that are included in the actual large document of the QAP, you can come down here and find the individual forms here to download. And then there's a section right here for the Department of Economic Development forms. Some of these simply link back to their website so that you get the most updated forms. Others of them are downloads. And I'm sure Michelle and Christina will touch on that later in this presentation. If we start with the actual qualified allocation, when you click on that, it does actually ask you to download the PDF. And we will pop that up here. And it gives you a rather large document. One of the things that we just like to point out is different ways that you can move around and navigate the document. So the cover page, the second page of the cover page or of the document is actually a table of contents. Each of these numbers and titles are linked so that it will move you to that section in the application. If you want to see the policy and objectives matrix, you can easily grab it right there. Another thing that we would really like to point out is the thumbnails. You can take a look at, you can also scroll through on the thumbnail level, and you can also, sorry about that. You can also scroll through and take a look at the bookmarks because each of these are bookmarked and then also broken down further if there's additional breakdown. So there's the table of contents, introduction, and it breaks it all down per chapter. We will start with the 9% document on the QAP, and we will take a look. Oops. So that starts on page 142. And again, we've got our whole QAP document right here. That we have restructured things a bit, but this year we've made sure to add NYFA's mission, vision, and values, and how NYFA tends or will apply these to the QAP and application process, as well as policy matrix to give you a good idea of how each of these objectives are being met through the application in the QAP. And then there's also an overview of the scoring also tied to each of those objectives. There's a lot of information through here. Most of you have taken a look at this and are fully aware of the structure and how it moves through the application. Here are all of the documents that are actually considered part of the qualified allocation plan. And then there's additional information throughout. If you go to page 154, that starts our actual section that tells you the due dates and the estimated conditional reservation information, as well as the approximate amount of other funding sources that the Department of Economic Development has that could be the approximate amounts that could be applied towards each of those programs. Again, we always reference you back to the home and HTF plans because those are, of course, those funds are not, those are governed under the Department of Economic Development and their specific action plans and comp plans. We will go ahead and go to the application. And I'd like to touch on just a couple of things here. The structure of the application has changed a little bit. One of the major things that we've done is before we had required exhibits, which were exhibits 1 through 20, and then we had threshold exhibits. Well, in reality, these exhibits 1 through 20 are important for us to have, and they were required. So really, we just changed those all to say that they're all threshold exhibits. Because if you didn't have one of these, then if you didn't have one of those upper level documents, if they were required, then you wouldn't have met threshold. So we wanted to make that extremely clear. So that structure has been changed. So now the threshold documents are items 1 through 20 and 100 through 116. You'll notice that 1 through 8 are those documents that you need to complete, regardless of if you're applying for home, HTF, or CDBG-DR, but those that are exhibits 10 through 20 are only required if you are applying for home, HTF, or CDBG-DR. Exhibits 100 through 116 are required items. Now, obviously down here, capital needs assessment. It's a required document, but only if you have a rehabilitation or adaptive reuse project, 10-year rule, acquisition credit. So there are some cases like that, but those we would need to have, those are threshold items that we would need to have these meeting the document requirements in order for a project to, or a development applicant to be meeting threshold. Another really, really important section. So here's the checklist, right? So it gives you a quick overview of all the forms. You'll notice that now these in blue all will link to the document. So if you wanted to take a look at the interest, if you wanted to download that individual documents, you can now click on that and it will automatically download it from the QAP, so you could open it, and it's a fillable doc. But now we've tried to make it so that you can access those documents in many different locations. You don't have to search for them. They'll be on as many pages, or on the pages as much as possible. So again, you're not looking everywhere. They're all available. Another section to really pay close attention to is the description of exhibit examples. So these are your these 100 through 116 items or exhibits, and this spells out specifically what needs to be in each part or in each of the exhibits. And this is what the scoring team looks at when we review the applications. We either have printed out copies or the PDF version of this application right next to us, and this is what we look at to make sure that each exhibit meets those requirements and thresholds. So you can go through and it covers each of those individual applications. One of the things to note is that on exhibit 111, we made some changes to this year, where in the past you had to try to upload into the worksheets a copy of your architect certification. It was difficult to read. It was difficult to do. So we have changed that. We've changed that and made that a part of another exhibit. So exhibit 111 will just be the Excel document, and you won't have to add any pictures or anything to that. You'll just be doing your data entry on that. One of the things we'd really like to point out is please upload this in the exhibit 111 in a PDF or in a Excel format, not the PDF. A lot of this is information and how we can push it to push that data into different underwriting systems and in our different computer systems. Some of you will remember we used to make you enter it in our online application and in the exhibit 111. We changed that last year or 2 years ago, but this year we want to even make what we're doing then is pushing that data from your Excel spreadsheet into our system so that there's not double entry. We're trying to again make things a bit more efficient. One of the other issues we noticed too is please do not send files as zipped folders. You can upload zipped folders, but when we transfer that over to our long-term system, that software does not like the zipped folder, and it does not show that you've submitted the document properly. So please do not do that. One of the other things that I'll just mention right now also is, and I'll probably touch on this again because we did have, I mentioned earlier, we had our 4% pre-applications and threshold apps due, and we had some challenges with, we've asked everyone to please do not name the individual exhibits super long names. The system doesn't like it. It doesn't allow us to easily download. And I don't know if it's a Microsoft issue, if it's just the software, but it does not allow us to download those files very easily. And so we're asking that you please save your files as something simple, as like exhibit 107 at the start. And then you definitely can put an identifier at the end if you want to put a property identifier or something like that. But you definitely do not need to do please do not do a very long naming convention. Keep it very simple. And for some reason, we had a lot of special characters added this last time around. And again, when we move that up into our system, it does not like those special characters and makes it very challenging to download those. And we wouldn't want something, I mean, we haven't had it yet, but we wouldn't want something not to go through properly. We've been able to recover the document, but I mean, just to give you an idea, it's a more efficient process if you name it, again, just exhibit 107. And then if you have multiple applications, put that identifier on there. You know, your app, that's absolutely great, but not a 30 character name for the file, because it does just get rejected. Another section that we'd like to touch on is the other selection criteria. There are some new sections in here and some changes. You can, again, link to these ones that have specific forms. You can link to this forms in here. And again, it's just a summary of all of those possible sections and how those and the possible points in each of those categories. You can see, starting on page 242, it actually gives them the individual descriptions of each particular section. And we'd like to note that specifically those projects participating in CRANE would need to score a minimum of 30 points in this section. Remember, CRANE's a continually open cycle, so we don't have a specific due date necessarily for when these can come in. We have specific dates that we review documents, but since we won't have an individual CRANE, we don't have an individual CRANE application QAP overview, we just want to touch on that minimum here. The other section that sometimes, especially new developers maybe aren't aware of, is that we have the NIFA/NDED exhibit examples. So starting right off the bat, again, you'll notice that there are some text written in blue. This will let you download this specific document, so you don't have to copy and paste it out of this large document. You're able to just download this specific exhibit or item. But the first section here we'd like to point out is, like, these exhibits will give you a breakdown of exactly what needs to be in each exhibit. And then as you go along further, the Department of Economic Development has provided some background and information for their exhibits, their site review form. And then specifically the one that I think is fantastic is they have this very, very clear walkthrough of SAM documentation that really gives a great overview of the documentation required for that. If you go down just a little bit further, it goes to the the joint application exhibits that apply to both DED and NIFA. So it would be verification of zoning. Again, the blue here, you can just simply click on it and download the specific form, so you do not have to copy and paste. And these all download as fillable forms. I think that is, Pam, was there anything else that you think we need to cover in this section?
I don't think so. I think that was it. And you hit on all the stuff that we had wanted to.
Okay. We'll pop over to the online application. Just to give you an idea of how you would register. So you can go into the online application. I showed you earlier that right here from Forms and Docs, you can get to the online application. You can get to that from the overview page. There's an apply now button. So you can get to that page in many different ways. If you've never been on before, it's as simple as registering an account. And I'm not sure if I deleted this from our last one. So let's see. Very easy. You pick a password. And your business name, and you're able to register. Maybe I'm feeling like this is going to tell me that I'm already registered, but it's a very simple process to register. Yep. Maybe. I love technology. It's fantastic. Yep. So this was already created. So I will log in. So you saw how easy it is to create an account. What you would have done is if you would have done that in the past, it would have been as simple as entering those things, and then you pop right into this page right here. So there's a couple sections that we just want to point out. To start out, to fill out an application, it's seriously as simple as clicking fill out an application. Then you choose the application that you'd like to fill out. Right now we have the 9% application or the 4% application open and available. So you go in, choose your application, put the name in, and create your application. And then as far as moving around in the application, it's as simple as going through, and you'll notice this year, in the past, we didn't have necessarily everything that was in the paper application online. We've changed that. We've made sure that everything that is in the paper application is now also online, so that you're not, you don't have to look back and forth. You can choose either resource that's going to have the information. But you then could just move through. This is just asking you if you've read and acknowledged, and you'll notice if I check this and hit save and next, it's going to show that this particular box is checked. So I'm done with that particular section. On the inquiries section, you'll notice that contact information for NIFA, for home in the HTF program, which is Michelle Grimes. And then the Community Development Block Grant Program with disaster recovery is Christina Zink. So their information is right here, as well as links. Anytime you see a little blue box with an arrow, will take you to take you directly to a website if you prefer to do that. So some of the sections, some of the changes this year is we did try to make like things grouped together. Before, everything was sort of scattered around. Now you'll notice that all of the questions regarding home, CDBG-DR, and HTF are all in one section here, all under this particular section. So we ask if you're going to apply for them. And then if so, it reminds you, you need to fill out the threshold exhibits 10 through 20, and then answer each of these questions here underneath. We have also grouped the threshold information all together. Again, before it was kind of spread out, but now each of the threshold sections are set up in a way where on the exhibits 1 through 8, you can down or upload all of those files in this section. The starred items are required. 2, 3, 4, and 5 are only if applicable. But it will not put a check mark in this area unless you have uploaded a document in each of the starred sections. So we're trying to help make it so that you, the system is helping make sure that nothing is missed that is required. And then this is the same for the Department of Economic Development section with their documents right here. Again, these are not required because not everyone is going to be applying for those funding sources necessarily. A lot of times, almost everyone is, but not necessarily everyone. And then again, oh, go ahead.
And they don't need to upload a document to say it's not applicable. No, it's not applicable. You can just keep moving on. You don't need to put anything up there because that just saves everyone time.
Yeah, so when all of these files download, they download as individual files. They don't download as one big document. So yes, if there is not, if the document is NA, please do not feel like you need to upload a cover sheet that says not applicable because this, and this. We understand that if you didn't check that you're applying for CDBG-DR, we won't expect, or home or HTF, we don't expect to have these exhibits uploaded. So don't make extra work for yourself by putting that in there. You definitely do not have to upload that. And we know uploading the documents can sometimes be very time consuming. So we don't want you to have to take your time doing that. We don't expect that. And it would, in fact, would prefer if you did not upload empty or blank documents. Again, this is where you'll see that in the past, we just had a basic question to have you upload exhibit 100. Now all the information that is in the paper application is listed in the online application. And then here we remind you by saying upload documentation as exhibit 100. So again, please save the document as exhibit 100. You can put, again, the property name behind it or whatever you need to as an identifier if you're doing multiple projects. But please try to at least keep that naming convention with that exhibit and then the number at the very front of the file name. It seems small, but it is you'd be surprised. We recently had an application where exhibits were uploaded and some of them were called the same name, still uploaded, although they were not the same file. So it was really confusing, and we just want it to be a smooth process so that we can see, we can review this as efficiently as possible and make sure that we're not, there's not errors on submission or anything like that. Pam, is there anything else in this section that you think that we need to cover? I guess we can go to the other selection criteria. Again, these are all optional items, but we have asked that you answer yes or no in some of these situations just to make sure that we are we're getting data in each of the sections, and that they're basically that make sure that they've been looked at so that we don't have someone accidentally not check something in the application. One of the other things I didn't hit on in exhibit 111, but if in the application, if something doesn't calculate just right, for example, on your units or your rents in the online application, please remember that we always default to what is in that exhibit 111. So that is what the information that we use if there's a slight calculation difference, because that exhibit 111 is an Excel document and has much better formula and rounding capabilities than what this online system currently has.
Do you want to touch upon the fact that we kind of overlooked that we, like you're
Yes.
on exhibit and it's required.
Yeah, so we thought we were being super, super helpful to those, and that by making questions and be required to be answered, whether or not you're taking part of them, taking part in something or not. So for example, let's say it's a preservation project. We now are making you answer yes or no. Well, that makes it difficult for you to be able to submit at threshold. We're working with the project developer right now to see if there's a way to override this, so that you don't have to have all of these boxes checked prior to submitting threshold. And we'll keep you up to date on that as we go through. But in our efforts to try to make things easier, we made a little challenge. So we're learning and working with the developer as we go through these situations. Michelle, would you like to present now, or do you have some information you'd like to share?
Yes, I would. I just have a few things I need to touch on. If you're applying for home, HTF or CDBG DR, to be sure you have your site review forms into us. So we've gotten several so far, and they're done. And so if you haven't done that yet, we really need them as soon as possible so we can get staff out there to look at the sites and get the forms back to you. And then for home and HTF, I'll be working with those applicants on their cost allocation to make sure they have the right number of units in their Exhibit 111. So I will be working with those applicants. I do want to point out that our website for State of Nebraska DED has changed. So if you are clicking on some links in the application and you get no results found, can somebody bring up the DED website or click on one of the links in the application so I can show them?
You should be able to share your screen too.
Oh. I'm sorry, that was share my screen.
Should be towards the bottom of the Zoom. If not, I can bring it up.
Yeah. If you can just click on one, that'd be great, because it's not letting me. So our website has changed, but I did just talk to them today. They're going to try to redirect some of those links, but if you do get a no results found, I'll show you how to navigate here. So on the programs, can you click on programs for me, Pam?
Yep.
And then housing. And that'll bring up all the housing. If you scroll down for me, please. And then all those tiles there, if you click on those tiles for home, HTF, or CDBG DR, that's where you're going to find our pages and our manuals and our forms, and Christina may discuss hers as well. So that's where you can find our forms if you need forms or want to look at the manual, any resources that we have for those programs if you scroll down. Yep. There's our manual for home, and that was updated last year. And our forms and templates, yep, there they are. And then the data, the information on the data, there's subsidy limits, yep, if you get rent limits, income limits, there you go. And can you click on the Nebraska logo for me, please, in the toolbar? Yep. Oh, there was the data. Can you scroll down? Okay. I was just on there. It had like the data links, and Cheryl's on as well. Cheryl, do you know where to find that? And if you type in, once you type in that search and type in annual reports, and it should bring up that screen for us. And plans and reports. And then scroll down. There's our consolidated plan, action plans. For housing, yep. So if you wanted to review any of that information for your application, there you go. If you have any problems with getting around, just contact one of us. Our contact information's on the application, and I did notice the website, mine is .gov, and on the application I think it says .org. And Christina's phone number that shows up on the application looks like my phone number, so I'll just have Christina put her number in there or tell you what her number is. And that's all I had.
Okay, thanks, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
And now we'll pass it to Christina.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll pop up our website again. You can see, as Michelle said, we have a new website. I don't think we timed it that NYFA was having a new website. We were having a new website, just to cause more havoc in everyone's lives. But under programs, housing, I just wanted to kind of walk through it again. As Michelle said, there's these nice tiles here that take you to each of our housing program pages. Our contact information is correct on those pages. But you can click on the DR. And I just wanted to highlight a couple things because it has changed. But it gives just a brief overview of our federal disaster recovery DR 4420. You'll see on the page, there'll be like this yellow highlighted section. It'll always be kind of like the most up to date on action that's happening. So we did submit a substantial amendment to the action plan for the LIHTC joint application so that for-profit developers can also apply directly. It wasn't as clear in the action plan, so we did hold public comment and submit that to HUD. So they're reviewing that. And then another big one, I'm sure all of you are on our email list, but you can also subscribe and select what kind of housing information or DED information, but also within DR, you can click, that you want obviously housing programs. But then these quick links are the most helpful. So you can, our press releases and announcements, I'll take you right there. The most up-to-date, it's the information we send out in the listserv. So you can have the most update information there if you're checking for details on upcoming focus group or outreach meeting. And then the housing programs, I always just go in and click on it. And it gives the construction side and the homeowner assistance program. So in the construction side here, it gives a link to the program guide, also has some fact sheets, frequently asked questions. And then in the application, it does refer to green building standards in the site review form. And so those are also linked here, as well as the application. So you can find it pretty easily between the online application through the NYFA site or coming over here to the DED website. On the site review form, it does say to email Michelle, and you can still do that. You can also copy me on it if you're wanting to apply for DR funds, but we work closely together that we share the information as needed. So it will get to the right person. I just want to take one other second on HUD requirements. This is a page that's continually being developed. There'll be information on reporting and like our reports that we send to HUD. Our action plan is another way to get to it. The citizen participation plan. So all the work we've done and continue to do to outreach and let everyone know what our plans are to use the DR funds. And then the program guidelines are there. We're also working on a manual and some policies and procedures. So this page, this HUD requirements page will be updated and changed as things continue to progress. HUD is reviewing all the housing program guides right now. And so while they're under review, we're still moving forward with the LIHTC program because we want to definitely have that go now with the timeline. So that's what I have.
Okay, again, I'd like to encourage everyone to please submit any questions that you may have. We have been getting a few calls and emails. Again, those will be published in an ongoing document that will continue to be revised and changed as we get additional questions. That will have guidance that we will provide you in conjunction. I don't know about words today.
Sarah, I think you might have frozen. Oh, there you are.
Yes,
You back
she did.
unfrozen now?
Sorry. I don't know what happened there, technology. So I don't know when it cut off.
You were just saying how you didn't know about words today. It's
Yeah,
been a long
well,
week for
and
us.
apparently the computer agreed and the internet agreed. It's Friday, it's done. What we really would like though is please provide us any questions so that we can make sure to get that published so everyone gets the same information and the same answer. And it again, that FAQ will be something that will be continually updated so you can go back and look at it throughout the process. We'll update it as we get new questions. And I'm not sure if it cut me off before, but we will work with the Department of Economic Development, Michelle and Christina and everyone else over there, so that if there's a question that needs to be addressed by all of us, we'll make sure that that's done. Or if it's more of a specific question that we feel needs to be addressed by one of them, we'll make sure that that gets sent to them too. So, which I think everyone's pretty familiar with who to contact in what case, but again, we will make sure that we get you answers as soon as possible. So again, email us. Everyone has our contact information. We'd also like to mention that there is an email address that is available to send any type of correspondence to the tax credit team, whether it's compliance or allocation, anytime you have a question. And that is found on our website. But you can find it's TXCR, so tax credit, TXCR.multifamily@NYFA.org. So you can always send questions there or to Pam and I directly. Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend. And we look forward to hearing any questions or any feedback that you may have with the application. Thank you.